Rocks came from the mountains, crushing our homes, killing our children. A description there of the aftermath of Cyclone Idai as hundreds lost their lives. Hurricanes, droughts, raging wildfires, mudslides, heat waves and droughts. The impact of climate change is real and none of us can escape. Let's get started. Good evening and welcome to the Democracy Gauge. I'm Bongani Bingwa. Welcome to the show. Now, what is climate change and why should you care? Global weather patterns have changed from time to time since the beginning of the planet, but there was always nature in charge. This time, there's clear evidence of the impact of man-made contributions to the warming of our planet. But what risk does it pose to you and me? Well, South Africa has experienced a severe drought since 2015, and it's brought with it crop losses, water restrictions. It's had a real impact on our food and water security. And that's why we're asking the question tonight, do you care about climate change? You can choose from our three colors. Green is for yes, yellow is for maybe, and red is for no. Feel free to send us a WhatsApp video. There's the number on your screen, 065-862-4548. Of course, you can interact with our poll on SABCnews.com. We extend that conversation to social media, Facebook and Twitter. There are our hashtags, SABCDG25 and hashtag SABC News. So, should you care about climate change? Well, our producer, Nono Makongoma, produced this insert looking at its impact in South Africa.
Experts say these weather patterns are the effects of climate change in South Africa. The country has experienced a number of natural disasters in the Western Cape, KwaZulu-Natal and Northwest. But what causes them?
These disasters are caused by high-impact weather system like your upper air trough, your tropical cyclones, etc. For now, I'm just going to show you one example of the recent tropical cyclone Idai, which landed on the 14th of March this month over the parts of Zimbabwe. It landed in the evening, but we predicted it about 6 days before. On the Sunday before, which was the 10th, we already had a joint operational center in Pretoria where we were discussing the potential impact, as you have seen, over the areas of Beira and the eastern Zimbabwe. If you look at the map, this tropical cyclone, as we analyzed it, the isobars were close to each other. This implied that the gradient is steep, hence we anticipated a very strong winds. The center is about 992 hectopascal, so that was an indication of steep gradient for us.
It's difficult to assess if South Africans care about climate change. However, in some instances, traditional philosophers will claim that some disasters occur because a mythical water snake has been angered. Climate change has been described as a slow natural cycle that causes the Earth's temperature to rise and fall periodically over centuries. Human intervention can impact climate change. In South Africa, it is often the poor and vulnerable that have to pick up the pieces.
The impact of tropical cyclone Idai was felt by most people in South Africa. This high impact weather are expected to increase with time in terms of intensity and also in terms of frequency.
Experts say the coastal cities of Cape Town, Durban, Port Elizabeth, East London are at risk of flooding by 2050. Rising sea levels could have a devastating impact on South Africa as the effects of climate change hits. Nono Makongoma, SABC News.
Well, we're joined now by somebody who's really no stranger to the SABC, Mnikeli Ndabambi, who's of course the acting CEO at the South African Weather Service. As I say, somebody who's quite familiar to the SABC. Very good evening to you. Welcome to the Democracy Gauge.
Good evening, Bongani.
Let me start with you and ask you this question. I mean, is climate change, in terms of man-made climate change, a foregone conclusion? Because some people are still in denial about it.
We have impact. We are contributing, Bongani. When we burn your fuel fires, they release carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide trapped the heat energy. I want to give you one example, Bongani. Did you recognize that on cloudy nights it's warmer than on cloudless nights?
I hadn't, I'll be honest.
Okay. On cloudy nights, you've got clouds. And then when the heat energy is escaping the Earth, going to space, is trapped by the clouds, re-radiated back to Earth. That's why the cloudy nights get warmer. So then if your carbon dioxide increases because of these felt fires, for example, then they form a layer. When the heat energy is escaping, it gets trapped, re-radiated back. Hence, you see that the Earth is warming. So that is one of the contributors.
So people will argue, though, that, you know, the patterns of, you know, the weather have changed from time to time around the globe. There are times when the planet was warmer. There are times when it was colder. We have ice ages and so on. Why blame industry? Why blame industrialization for what's happening now?
Remember, it's both the combination of the natural and the human contribution. The population has increased over the world with time. You can see the infrastructure that you see now over your country, South Africa, let alone Johannesburg already. So there is more infrastructure. There are more cars. These emissions have increased with time. We have evidence, Bongani. Remember, we predicted it. The late rainfall onset that you have observed this year.
Yep.
People that used to plant mealies, they didn't plant most of them because during summer, early spring, you expect summer rainfalls. When did they come now?
They came in autumn.
In autumn, and then they continue. So then your planning has changed totally, Bongani. The grazing land is decreasing. Actually, the predictions are showing that with time, we expect late onset of rainfall with shorter duration. So that means now if you're in the field of agriculture, for example, your planning should change.
What does all of that mean for food security? I mean, we're a water-scarce country as it is. If those patterns change in the way you've described, what will it mean?
It's a bit scary, Bongani. If we do nothing, it's business as usual. It's not only food security, the water. We start with water management. Food security, I've just shared with you that the grazing land is decreasing with time. We expect long periods of droughts. Then when the rain comes, it will be heavy rains, destroying what you have. And then if the rain comes, I said it will be for short duration. So then that means now if we are in the crop production, I'm not in that area, you need to think differently. You need now to start looking at crops that are going to survive a short duration of rain.
Is it fair to make the argument that the more industrialized a country is, the more it obviously contributes to these emissions, and therefore what we are also suffering is the results of what the developed world has been able to achieve?
That is true, Bongani. We have observed. You know, Bongani, when we're saying climate change, we expect the rainfall to come late. We expect a change in season because we're talking about climate change and climate variation. So climate change and climate variability. Variability is about the changing seasons that are no longer normal. So with our industries, even the contribution to our health, the emissions, the air we breathe. Remember, in winter, we expect subsidence of air. So that's why you find that now this pollution is trapped closer to the surface.
But we ourselves, South Africa that is, we're also a contributor to the problem, are we not?
We are. That's why we participate in this international conference. That's why we are looking at managing our emissions. That's why the Department of Environmental Affairs have got initiatives. Do you know that they have also starting now to advertise the cars, the department itself that can use not use fuel, instead electricity. So these initiatives are informed by that.
Nikeli, someone watching us might ask themselves, well, I mean, they're not in charge of big industry, of big factories. Why should they be made to feel responsible for this? Why should they care?
They should care, Bongani. Don't you care about your life? The challenge now is actually the result of less caring. The climate change is going to change. The high impact weather system or extreme weather system are going to increase. So we need to worry. We need to be able to adapt. We need to be able to cope. There are warnings. There are warning systems. They were warning for the tropical cyclone Idai, for example. But what were the proactive attempts to save lives? We are currently going to be operating a severe weather warning that is impact-based. We're no longer going to tell you now what the weather will be. We will tell you what the weather will do. But you should be able to adapt.
What will the weather do? I mean, what sort of things can we expect?
We should expect more flash flooding. We should expect more severe thunderstorm with damaging hail. We should expect more tornadic events. We should expect more tropical cyclones. So hence it is important that the safety of life, if it's your priority, you should care.
So if we then do start caring, what can we do as individuals, as residents of this country, as citizens? What can we do?
We should start participating on adaptation initiatives. The Coctar National Disaster Management Authorities, they develop disaster management plans which are not really active at local level. So we need communities to participate in those disaster management plans so that if there is a warning, you know exactly what to do. We know what action you should take. But you should start by understanding the warning. Hence that awareness, hence you get yourself educated so that you interpret the information appropriately. Remember, if you misinterpret the information, you might think you are avoiding the disaster, whereas you are going to a disaster.
Miguel Ndabambi, as your name suggests, you don't necessarily have good news for us today, but thank you very much for joining us on the Democracy Gauge. A reminder then of our poll question tonight. Do you care about climate change? Green is for yes, yellow is for maybe, red is for no. You can send us a WhatsApp video to 065 862 4548. We'll share your views after the break.
On Trends Travel, we bring you a full guide on all things lifestyle related. With so much to discover, we give you comprehensive reviews of places to visit, music, travel, and food. We also explore the arts, whether on or off stage. All this and more, be sure to tune into Trends Travel Saturdays at 5:30 p.m.
In a UN report, scientists say climate change is getting worse.
1/3 of our food sources for the population come out of the ocean.
We spoke to people who have been directly affected.
We have lost a lot of cattle. Gemsbokvlakte, Tosca gebied and Jakkalskop. Everywhere you will see there's animals dying.
I've lost 2 of my cattle this January.
Africa's demand for clean drinking water is rising.
Drinking water is a top priority.
The next day when the water comes back, it's dirty.
I have implemented a level 5 water restriction, effective immediately.
Environmentalists seek solution to preserve the planet.
This is Cape Kirpa, which is also one of the endemic species that is only found within the Western Cape, so it occurs nowhere else in the world except in our water system.
Welcome back. Well, here on the Democracy Gauge, we are very interested in what you have to say on all the issues we raise on the show. Today, we're going to have a particular focus on the comments that people have been making on Facebook, because as you know, of course, that allows you for longer comments for you to write. Let's start with TK, who says humans play only a little impact on climate change, according to the scientific research. What we do care about is not for the planet. Instead, we care about ourselves. There's a settled pattern for the Earth. Nobody can stop it. I'm afraid, TK, I'm not sure what research you are looking at, but the overwhelming evidence suggests the opposite. Mkolisi says, well, by virtue of one being on the planet Earth, we should care. Albert says, afternoon, yes, many people burn waste products at their homes instead of throwing them into the municipal bin that's next to the tar road. Then the steam goes to the sky and forms gases such as water vapor, methane and hydrogen gases, which lead to global warming. That's why we have climate change in the whole world. Is it Kalini who says the poor will suffer the most from further effects of climate change? Floods, fires, drought, because they cannot afford insurance and spatial movement. Sad truth is, the poor have the lowest levels of carbon dioxide emissions but face the toughest of all the consequences. I think that's not only true at an individual level, it's certainly true from country to country. As I said in our conversation a little earlier on, it's the developed world that causes a lot of the emissions, but it's poor countries like Mozambique, like Malawi, like Zimbabwe, as we've seen with Cyclone Idai, that bear the brunt. All right, we'll be taking some more of your views, not just on social media. Remember, we've been asking you to send us those WhatsApp videos. All of that coming up. Right, this is the People's View. This is the section of the show that allows you to interact with us. We've been asking you on Twitter, we've been pleading with you, basically, send us WhatsApp videos. All right, so we've got some of those. Here are some of the thoughts we've been getting.
I think in the climate change ingakwazi ukuthi ibe ne-impact enhle in abantu base South Africa only if the government angakwazi ukungenelela ayenze ama-advertisement ngalento ukuthi how can people prevent it and how can people do to stop ukuthi iqhubeke. If you can have some advertisement ngayo, like as they do ngama-alcohol, as they did nge-HIV and AIDS, then I think isimo singashintsha, izinto zingashintsha nje kakhulu.
Climate change, hay fever, it is all different kinds of weather patterns. Like for instance, for Honano, it's going to affect me due to load shedding. Load shedding is going to increase in a way where it's going to put more strain on the power stations to give us more electricity, which they don't have, and then load shedding is going to come and it's very cold, so that's how it affects me.
As a project manager in a prominent technology company, I always ensure we utilize our technology to reverse the adverse effects of the cutting down of trees for paper. Trees are the only real technology needed to fix our global climate change issues, and we're aware of that. We are so driven to ensure we save our planet that we offer small business solutions for a paperless, connected, and collaborative work effort. Let's save our planet. Let's plant trees and go paperless.
Right, some solutions being offered. There are also problems being described. I mean, load shedding was one of the unexpected impacts of Cyclone Idai. At least that's what we were officially told. So we really do have a stake in this. All of us have a stake in this. You should care about climate change. Now, if you want to be part of the People's View in our next programs, I say send us that WhatsApp video. Listen, as soon as our poll is open, you can participate. You don't have to wait until the next day. What's the number? There it is on your screen, 065-862-4548. Now, at the end of this show, I will throw forward to tomorrow's topic. Now, if your name is Minnie Trimley, your story is coming up after the break.
When thinking about the hassle of switching medical aid, Tuli has an epiphany. Bonita's let her apply online and her human phones her back. No long forms, no on-hold music. That's real medical aid. Exciting.
We're explorers. We always have been. Endlessly curious, always looking for answers, for new frontiers, for new stories. Because that is who we are. From script to screen, from yelling action to taking you on a journey. Radio producers, script writers, on-air presenters, news reporters, sports analysts. We spend late nights creating captivating storylines and earlier mornings keeping you informed, educated, and entertained. For us, it's not a job, it's a calling. We do this and more because you do your part. SABC TV licenses, made possible by you.
It's all things gangster and power in the kingdom of KwaMashu as two families immerse in the contradictory world of church and crime. Uzalo, weekdays at 8:30 p.m. on SABC 1. Mzansi, for sure.
complicated cases. Shubile.
Your black friends might be running this country, but I'm still the government on Bitterhook.
The poor child.
This kid was electrocuted by your fence.
Sorry, it's his own fault.
I put it to you that you have a personal interest in this case.
Under Section 300 of the Criminal Procedures Act 51 of 1977.
I urge the court to find in favor of the plaintiff.
The court finds the accused guilty.
Dedicated lawyers dig to the bottom and everyone gets peace. It's a pleasing judgment and it's justice for all on SABC Anko, DSTV channel 156.
So on the show, we don't just deal with the topic of the day, but we go back and ask South Africans what their lived experience of the last 25 years has been. And that's why we've crisscrossed the country to get some incredible stories from ordinary folks just like you and me. And you can check out all those stories on our website, sabcnews.com/elections. There is our map. As you can see, all these icons represent stories that you can click on. And today, of course, we are in Port Elizabeth, the Windy City, to tell the story of one Minnie Trimley. And the issue of gangsterism remains a headache, not only in the Western Cape, but around the country. 69-year-old Minnie has devoted her life to uplifting children in her area. She's excited about South Africa's democracy, and in particular, she has praise for the late Nelson Mandela.
My name is Minnie Trimley. I'm a retired school teacher. I was born in Queenstown, but I was reared in Port Elizabeth. I started teaching at Hillcrest Primary School, and I have a passion for education. As I started teaching here, I never lost that passion. That's why I still go into the area, collect all children to teach them. School yard. That is where I go teach children of a very younger age, from the age of 2 years old up to 5 years old, because many of them are supposed to be in school. I make them school ready. To me, what is very important is also reading. Reading is a big problem. So I start off by teaching the children the love of reading. And the athletics, I take these kids and they are so eager, because through their athletics they also learn to be disciplined. You know, they have now a say. They can raise their voice if they have issues. My feeling was excitement when I heard that we have to go vote, because many things went through my mind. I just thought I'm going to put everything behind my back and look forward to this new democracy country. And because many things we couldn't enjoy, that we could enjoy now in this democracy. Like examples, going to the beach, but everything has changed because everybody is now one. We're not separated from one another, and that is so beautiful. And as long as we have harmony amongst one another, it will make this country a better country. We can mix freely together, as number one. And number two, our children can go to any school now. We can go stay in any area, or races in one bus. So that has changed. I hope corruption should come to an end. When you're 18 years old, you go register so that you can go vote, so that you can have a say. And what I hope also, that it would be very safe, very peaceful, and everything will just work out for all our South Africans. To me, green means go. Go from now onwards. The democratic country belongs to us all, not only to one person, not only to certain people. That is democracy.
Well, every day on the show, as you know, we go back to 1994 to remind you of the build-up to that first historic election. This day, 25 years ago, at the Chris Hani commemoration event in Soweto, Nelson Mandela said the ANC would support the declaration of a state of emergency in KZN because, remember, that's how highly things were inflamed at that time.
Le kgono batho go tswa mafelong a fapanego a naga ba tlile ka mo Orlando Stadium ka Soweto go tlo gopola lefu la Morena Chris Hani.
Today we gather to pay homage to one of South Africa's greatest sons, Chris Martin Tembisile Hani. Today, we gather to commit ourselves to the ideals for which Chris Hani stood. Today, we remember Chris Hani, that Chris Hani paid the supreme sacrifice so that we could be free and enjoy a better life.
This, of course, was just after a year since the death of Chris Hani all those years ago. Right, now, before we say goodbye, we obviously want to give you the results of today's poll, and there they come up on the screen. 75% say yes, you do care about climate change, 11% maybe, and 14% thankfully say no. Perhaps still too high a number for my comfort. Look, we thank you for taking the time to watch our show and to participate. Now, tomorrow, we're asking the question, in the era of fake news, can you tell the difference between fact and fiction? That means our poll is open. You can choose from our three colors: green yes, yellow maybe, red no. And if you want to be part of the people's view, please send us a WhatsApp video. Tell us who you are, where you are from. Don't make it too long. 30 seconds is enough. 0658624548. From me, Bongani Bingwa, until tomorrow, Mpho and I say, Ubusuku Benzolo. Good night.